Mhm.
We like to hear the stories of how people are bridging the gap from where they are to
Mhm.
where they're going to go by what they're doing, either mentally,
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, socially, relationally, financially, or spiritually,
Yeah.
and then kind of how they're securing their future.
Okay.
What's up?
What's up?
So I guess the first thing is this, right? So I know you, and I can introduce you as the CEO and the founder and the visionary behind Black Professionals Network, and you have a network of, I mean, how much money do you think your network is worth? Like 100 billion?
You know, I honestly think that is the future valuation for it.
Yeah, I can see it for sure. So the first thing we do is like, if for people that are watching, listening to this, how would you introduce yourself to the audience?
I would feel like I would introduce myself as a girl who's just doing her calling, like who's just being, obedient and just listening that I was supposed to do this. At first, I didn't start off obedient, but I would say like I'm just a girl committed to the journey.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how it. People be thinking like I'm being funny. I'm just like, no. That's how I would introduce myself. I'm just like, hey guys, when I was younger, I kind of like, had the itch. At first, it was like I was like asking God, like, please pick somebody else.
Right.
But I just a person when I see problems, I can't ignore them, and I wanted to, you know, present my gifts and just do the work. And I just kept doing the work and kept doing the work, and then the work and the fruit and all the things just kept catching up. So that's how it is.
That's good. So tell people your name.
Okay, my name is Kenasha Paul. I'm the founder and CEO of Black Professionals Network.
What up, Kay? Hey, what's up, y'all? Amari here. I know you're watching the episode, and I'm sure you're probably tuned in, but I just have one request. We have one request, and that is that you subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to this YouTube video because, number one, we want to make sure that you're alerted whenever we come out with the next episode and the next episode. And then also, we want to make sure that we continue to have high-quality guests, continue to have high-quality conversations, and that'll happen if you subscribe, which will bring the traffic to our page. So we're excited about it, and get back to the episode.
Hey.
So how did you get started in this entire journey? Because I remember the first time I knew what Black Professionals Network was a few years ago when I went to a rooftop event, and it was like 300 people there in Fort Lauderdale. And I was like, who are all these people? And I went and, eventually I met you and, my mom had spoke at your conference before and yeah, then I've been to your conference now and I just love everything about what you have going on. Like you are an inspiration to me. So I just want to say thank you for all that. And,
No, I appreciate it.
But how did that get started?
I would say my origin story probably started from, it's hard to tell. I think maybe I probably in college when I was at FIU. So when I was at FIU, I was at the time the SGA vice president. And at the time, our Black Student Union was two clubs. There was a one in North Campus and South Campus. And they basically were a club no different than a chess club. So they combined budget. They probably had less than $500 as a combined budget. And at the time I was the only Black executive on my student government. So they, came to me wanting to see how we could make our, how to get funding, how to get support. And at the time I was trying to figure out how to restructure our student government so that, because FIU at the time was a fairly young university. And so there was some things our SGA was doing very differently than the other schools. And so I think fast forward, it was starting with BSU, like helping them become a council. So we created this whole little movement at the university. We had like a minority report assembly. I created these pitch decks and presentations to the administration. I had to, when I look back, I'm just like, I think about that time and I'm just like, dang, for a college kid, I was, I was doing a lot. But for us, it was like, for me, it was just like really important. It's like they have been, and it was something that they've been trying to do for the longest. So it's like when they came to me, I wasn't the first person or first time that they were trying to fix this issue around like their funding. And for me, I think it was, just wanting to, I was just really good about figuring out how to look at systems and figuring out how to make things connect. And then our BSU became a standing council. We went from $500 to a six-figure budget, because a lot of people don't know that our FIU actually has the largest Black population of Black students in the state of Florida.
That's why my friend calls the finest institution in the universe. FIU.
Yes, because we are. So a lot of people don't recognize that. If we took all the Black students and could be our own HBCU.
Wow.
That's how big of a group we are. But from there, I think starting from BSU, then I went to law school, and I thought like my BSU and those days were done, or I was only doing Black alumni at the time. But when I was in law school, seeing how my peers, were just one phone call away that they could, and I mean my peers, like people who didn't look like us, like they were able to call their father, or they were able to call a judge or call an attorney and get a clerkship, get an opportunity. And I was like, and I was talking to my other friends who were in grad school. They were going through almost similar same things, like whether they were in higher education or they were in medicine. They basically had to, start from scratch. We just believe that, you got to fill out the application. You got to do all the traditional things. And I saw people who didn't look like us. They weren't doing traditional things at all. They were making phone calls. They were networking, and they were being fast tracked. And I was just like, I looked at that and I was like, I think that system can be duplicated, and I want that to duplicate that for us. And so that's kind of like how it birthed. So I think from my college days of seeing how to navigate institutional challenges, like how to lobby, how to rally people together, how to leverage people's own rules and systems to kind of figure out what the loopholes are, to say, hey, like at the end of the day, if we're 13% of the student body, this is how much you should owe us. And I think going into law school with that same energy, recognizing like networking and basically creating your own systems and creating your own ecosystem, that is kind of like truly how you got to get a lot of things done. And so, yeah, that's how I think in a very long, short way, that's how BPN kind of evolved. And because I started it when I was in law school, I started the conference while I still was doing FIU Black alumni. So the first year it was in our student union building, our student union center. FIU was our founding sponsor. And now that's 11 years ago.
How many people came to the first one?
The first one, I think we only had like 150 people attend.
Only had 100.
No, I know.
That's amazing.
Thank you. No, but it's like at the time I didn't realize like that was big for even just for like the first one, because it's like people would say like, because I think about my first networking mixer when we pivoted away from the summit and we did our first networking mixer. I think I had like less than 30 people, and for me, I'm just like, oh my God, this is winning.
Right,
so our first conference, it was exciting to see how many people kind of like responded, because I think at the time, because we started in South Florida, a lot of people don't recognize like South Florida is still predominantly considered like a Hispanic leaning region. So for me to create something that's like the Black Professionals like Summit or the Black Professionals Network, some people didn't think that we would have enough people that we could pull to kind of like create this. But when I was doing the research, we had a lot of professional organizations. We were just all fragmented, we didn't have a cohesive ecosystem that we could all come together. So for me, that was just like important for us to kind of like do that.
So if you can go back 10 years ago from this moment, knowing what you know now, what is something or maybe some things that you would tell yourself?
I think for me, one of the things I would do is I think I would tell myself to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more audacious. I think I'm really proud of the journey that BPN has, evolved to, but there are some things that I feel like I personally have held us back from, just because of like not fully understanding like what truly I was building. It's like I was passionate and happy about the fact that, I could bring my community together. But I think when you recognize like you are doing something that's like bigger than yourself, that there is a level of like audaciousness that you need to have in order to like really recognize like you got to serve people in a little bit more aggressive way. So I think for me, I probably would, I would have been a little bit more aggressive, and that means like be more aggressive about trying to get more funding, be a little bit more aggressive about structuring a more advanced team so that it can handle like scaling. So I think I would just have handled that differently. But then also I'm saying that, and I'm also a firm believer that everything happens like as it's meant to. Like there are things that I learned and I had to experience. And I think that's the reason why now at this point I can see the journey in a more like 2020 perspective.
Like hindsight is 2020 way.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's like easier to say like what you would have done like 6 months ago, but the reason why you can say that now is because you had to go through 6 months of like the journey, the process, in order for you to even have that understanding. Like, because somebody could give you like all the, because I think you said something earlier like in your previous podcast about how like you've had mentors, you've had people who have instilled in you and who told you like giving you great advice, but at the time you weren't ready to receive it. So sometimes it's like we can tell ourselves like all the things that we would have done, but there's a reason why you can't receive information at the time it received. Like there is a season of like where it has to stew in you, and it has to be it needs to marinate, and it needs to kind of like you have to go through that season of preparation before it's really like prepared.
No, 100%. A few things. So I do believe that, and a lot of times we're unable to not even receive the information, but act on it because our capacity to even believe that we can do the thing isn't where it
Yeah.
needs to be, and that happens through a lot of things, and and sometimes that's like a pruning season. Like you
Yeah.
have to see different things, experience different things. Like I had somebody here last week, and they wanted to start a podcast room.
Mm-hmm.
By them being, and we had talked about it, like this is what you should do. But by them being here and
Yeah.
seeing it, the microphones, the cameras, the get like, oh, this is what it takes. I can do this. I think that threshold is what we have to continually achieve to expand.
Yeah,
For us,
stretching yourself.
you're right, 100%. And another thing you talked about, you said, serving people in a more aggressive way. So when you're doing what you're doing, how do you serve people, and how does that translate into a conference or a networking event or a group of individuals in one place?
So for BPN, our mission is to increase the number of Black accredited investors. Like in like big picture, that is we're developing an ecosystem of what I call certified legacy builders. My vision for that starts off with Black professionals reaching a certain financial status in order for them to unlock other wealth opportunities that could 2x, 3x, or even 10x their wealth. And so I know from a historical and systematic way, there are a lot of things that have been held back from us in order for us to even reach the baseline status. And so for me, when I think about how I'm serving our community, is being very intentional on how we design the ecosystem to serve that need. So the first thing is that I started off like most people probably start off with networking, but a lot of people are surprised to know that our story started off with the conference first.
Wow.
Yeah, so we didn't. We started off with the conference out the gate, and the conference was created understanding where South Florida was at the time. Entrepreneurship was still very much new to the scene. So a lot of people, part of my journey, I was a legislative aide to a school board member. It's recognizing a lot of like, again, research was a big part of like my journey. And recognizing that we had a lot of universities in South Florida, like people don't recognize, we probably have a overpopulation of universities in other regions. But when you think about that from an economic like perspective, that means that a lot of us are graduating with not enough opportunities. So it's like, because if a region is producing so many college graduates, it's almost like if you think about a region being a company and they're producing a way more products than there is demand for, then you're having a stagnant market. And so that's kind of like, so for me, for the summit, it was to be able to almost provide somewhat of a solution to that. Like, hey, we have a lot of college graduates in this region. There's not a lot of companies who are in this region that's hiring us. And so that means we have to be able, but we still need to increase our household income. We still need to achieve wealth. We still need to be able to make this investment in our education worth it. So the conference was designed to think about it from a multi-angle. So we had tracks on if you are able to get a career opportunity, how to navigate from degree to your industry. And then if you decided that you didn't want to go down the career pathway, how to navigate towards the entrepreneurship pathway. And the conference has just more evolved and fine-tuning that strategy and helping people understand that if you are going to the career professional pathway, then you need to treat that career as a means to your bigger goal. So that means you are trying to figure out how to either get the highest role that pays the most, or you need to go into industries that pay the most. So for us, it's very strategic about making sure our community understands that messaging. And then on the entrepreneurship end, it's about making sure they understand that if you are going to do entrepreneurship, you need to figure out what entrepreneurship pathways are allow you to get to that accredited investor status. And there's some industries that cannot do that. Because I think there's a lot of people who are in consumer industry businesses where there's like candle making. And I'm like, unless you are going to be a volume producing candle maker, you probably are creating a lifestyle business and not a business that's going to allow you to generate the wealth that is going to help you 10x or 3x like the goals that you're trying to accomplish. So for us, when I think about a long way, it's like that's what I'm doing by serving my community, just making sure that giving them a pathway for them to like our community says that we care about generational wealth. They say that we care about breaking generational curses. And so a lot of that is figuring out how to create content, how to bring people in the room who can speak to that and help them along that journey.
Wow, that's amazing you say that. I know you went to college. You graduated college. I graduated college. And I have my thoughts about it even though I went. But what are some of your thoughts on college, especially how it is now? What were some of maybe the pros while you were there or that you see in college? What are maybe some of the cons maybe that you see in college? I know that college is a big thing. It's like a step where it's like a buffer step for a lot of people. Like, what do you think about that?
I think the problem is that if you...
Or the good stuff too.
I think my view on college has always been consistently the same. So this is how I look at it. I grew up around a lot of different cultures, and I think that Black and brown people are taught that college is not beneficial or is not useful, when really that I feel like that's harmful messaging because other groups are not taught that. And then also other groups aren't taught how to utilize college correctly.
Right.
I look at college as a country club for like young adults. That's how you're supposed to see it. You're paying a country club membership and you are supposed to network. You are supposed to maximize the resources. Like, that is how you're supposed to use college. That is your first access to what a country club experience would look like. And if you come from a family that doesn't know to use college like that, then you're only going to think about college from the perspective of like, oh, the grades I need to get, the major I need to have, all those stuff. And those are distractions unless you're in certain fields. Like, of course, I went to law school. So of course that's different, right? So it's like, if you go to med school, engineering, law, yes, you have to look at college from the technical aspect of it, of like, yeah, you need to get good grades. You need to sit there and work the traditional aspect of college. But I think for a lot of other people, you need to look at college like it's a country club.
Now, for those people who are looking at it from a country club point of view, because I believe that, right? It's the first time I actually heard it that way. But I used to tell people, I used to walk in the quad, like let's say my freshman year. I used to walk, or even throughout college, I used to walk in the quad, like where everybody used to walk through. I used to not have my headphones in, and I used to try to be at everything.
Yeah.
I may have not joined every club because I play basketball.
Yeah.
But I tried to be at all of the events and tried to meet as many people as possible because you just never know. College is an incubator of it's like when you meet somebody before they get successful versus when you have a relationship with them after they get successful. It's harder to build a transformational relationship with somebody after they've done the thing.
Exactly.
But in college, nobody has done the thing. Everybody is on their way to doing whatever it is they want to do. And so when you build those relationships and you have those friendships and these things, it's like now it's when it's time for them or you to become, it's like, oh, I remember this person from, they were there when we used to X, Y, and Z in college, right? And
Exactly.
that's hey, this is my father. This is I know this person from this business, and I still have friends from college to this day.
Yeah, same here. And I think that's a testament to kind of like how you grow your brand and your network, because you understood very early on the value of relationships and networking. A lot of people do miss that. They focus on everybody, because I think about it, so interesting. Everyone says the phrase, your network is your net worth. Everyone knows that phrase, but very few people actually like believe it. They actually do the work. They don't really even understand what it means when someone says your net worth, your network is your net worth. Because it's like, because I think a lot of times, and like, again, I say it's cultural, because we are we're still new to what it means to truly build a network. We understand family, we understand friendship, we understand even being on a team if you play sports. But networking, your network is very, very, very different than all of those things. And you have to be intentional by crafting it. Can some people be friends who are also in your network? Of course. Can you have family who is also in your network? But I always tell people my professional network is very different than my friends, than my family. And I understand, and it's like you have to understand that difference. And I think I think because we're still used to the art of business, the art of like we're still, a lot of us are still first generation, second generation. So I think that's the reason why networking or net worth building and network building still feels a little complicated for people. But at the end of the day, that's like what the mission for our organization is. It's like, hey, we know that a lot of you probably are first generation in your family and do not understand what it means to have a mentor who and you know, you need to figure out how to have a proper mentor relationship or how to have a proper networking relationship. That sometimes your networking person is somebody who probably not coming to your house, who you're not on the phone 24/7, but you know how that they can call you if you, because they understand that there's a value that you provide. They know that you are the person who can solve the solution. When I think of like, hey, if I want to reach a certain demographic, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna call AB because I know that he can sit there. He has access to a certain type of group. Or if I know another person wants to access this demographic, I'd be like, hey, I know, I'm gonna hit you up and be like, hey, I know that there's a sponsor or this partner that is looking to reach out to this demographic. I know that this is in your wheelhouse. That's a professional network. And I think the problem is that with college, with us as a community, I think we kind of just lost. I don't know. We didn't learn it. So I wouldn't say we lost sight of it. I just think that a lot of it is just that we just didn't learn it. And I think the people who have learned it, they're being resistant to applying it.
No, 100%. And it's great when you said, people don't, we have to do a better job of understanding what network really is.
Yeah.
And I even go beyond this because people ask me, Amari, like how what can I do to help the organization or whatever? I'm like, when you come back better.
Yeah.
And that can mean more followers. That can mean more business transactions. That can mean you're growing your own network. That can mean, you become a person of even more influence or you become a better person, whatever that looks like. And I say your network is not your net worth. I say the value you provide to your network determines your net worth. Because I have people's numbers in my phone that the world may think is very influential, but what value? I'm not going to be calling them right now.
Exactly.
Because what value do I bring to them in this moment? And I don't want to waste that call. I don't want to waste those opportunities. So I try to look at myself and I'm saying, man, how can I become better? How can I, engage in conversations like these? How can I bring value to more people so my resources grow and then I may not even have to reach out to some people. They're coming to me, like I'm sure, it's been happening to you. So it's one of those things where I'm like, man, how, like value, what does value look like? How can I provide it? How can I help somebody else become that? And that's what I look at. Your net worth is your net worth.
No, 100%. You hit it on the head. I'm always speaking about value, helping people understand how to position their value, how to assess their value. Because outside of the work that I do at BPN, that's kind of like I coach founders. And so a lot of that is from that understanding. Because I do recognize that in doing this work, a lot of the reasons why people have made it hard for them to network is because they don't understand their value. And I think as a community, if you're taught that you aren't valuable, like, and you're taught that you don't matter, or if you don't have this certain clothes or these certain items, it's like all of that has been ingrained into us in society. So so that's why I feel like our work is so like necessary, because it's like I'm combating against hundreds of years of indoctrination and messaging to let people know, like, no, you do that. I was like, I have to do like this first, like, yes, yes, you are valuable. Now you have to figure out how you're valuable. Now you have to figure out how you can be of service. Now you have to figure out how to maximize the opportunity, how to not waste the opportunity, how to multiply the opportunity. So there's so many steps. And that's why we say it's a journey. That's why we call it's like a legacy builder's journey, because we know a lot of people, especially are already in that wealth side. Like, they got the money, but they're not understanding fully of like how to make that wealth impactful, how to make that wealth generational. Because like outside of what I put on the websites or on the pamphlets, like my biggest thing is like, no, I want us to create a batch of legacy builders that their last names live on, just as the people that we are like obsessed over now. Like when we think about like Walgreens is a last name. JP
Right.
Morgan and Chase, that's a last name.
Right.
BNY Mellon, that's a last name.
Right.
I want us to have things like that. Like
A lot of universities have last names.
offer last names. So it's just like when I say someone's a legacy builder, I'm saying that's what that's what I'm saying. When you're a legacy builder, you're saying you're committing to the process of making your last name last beyond multiple generations. And it doesn't have to be only in business, because I also think about like the Kennedys. The Kennedys are a political last name dynasty. When you think about like the Rockefellers, they have multi assets. So there's so many different ways. The Disney, like, yes, they're a business, but it's a last name that is focused on animation and storytelling. So I just look at it from that perspective of like, we need to have our versions of that.
So my next question is this, right? So you have one of the biggest, if not the biggest, networking experience down here with your conferences and all that. If you were somebody, or if you were to tell somebody, or if somebody asks you hey, it's my first time, how do I go in here and how do I get the max capacity out of this event, this conference? What would you tell them? If you were walking into a room, how would you?
I would tell them to start with one goal, just one goal. Like, figure out what.
And now I'm talking about like practical stuff. Like, I walk into the building.
Yes.
What am I doing?
Walk into the building first. Before you walk into the building, first figure out what goal are you trying to accomplish, right? So is it that I need a job opportunity? Is it that I need funding for my company? Is it that I'm looking to better myself? Like, because a lot of the content that we're doing this year, because of our theme is Rise and Resist, is about basically like fighting against a lot of psychological villains, because our theme is very much on like heroes. So that's how we're positioning our legacy builders, and for them to fight against the psychological villains that help you, like that basically attack your belief in yourself. So imposter syndrome and self-doubt and whatnot. So I would say start first with a goal, because I think a lot of times people just go is like, oh, okay, I'm trying to catch a vibe. And I was like, because they always want like these Black experiences to be about catching a vibe. And I'm like, that's not what this is. You have to come very intentional. So start with a goal. And then after starting with a goal, I would say then reviewing the website, figuring out who are going to be the speakers, figuring out already like of the speakers, who do you like, researching them on LinkedIn, figuring out, okay, who is aligned maybe into a career path that I'm doing. Maybe they're in an industry that I'm interested in. Maybe they're going to be on a session that I really am going to be passionate about. Then be strategic of making sure that when that session is over, you have questions that you can come to them and ask them. And that you already practice to introduce yourself. Say, hey, I'm so-and-so. I really love some of the things that you said. I thought it was really interesting what you had said in that XYZ panel. I would love to sit there and exchange contact, and then follow up. So many people go to these events and they never follow up. And I'm just like, why did you go through all of that work, all that research, all of the to getting dressed, looking good, and then you just, don't follow up?
Right. I get it 100%. So now, that's amazing. That's actually really good stuff. Now, how can two things?
Okay.
How can somebody make money from an experience like yours?
Okay.
And also, how does maybe somebody that wants to, that's hearing this and wants to get involved in the same thing that you're in, how can they profit from that? How does that even work?
So for you mean like professional organizations like our business model?
Yeah.
Okay, so for BPN, we're actually retweaking our business model because of things that have changed with everything going on with DEI and things that are going. So for me, I'm looking at it from a perspective of, well, I coach everybody because I don't gatekeep. So I just tell people like like the business model, you have to have different streams, and you have to have one of the things, you have to have teams for each stream. That's the only thing that I probably wish I had done better. So we have a membership stream. So if you're a member, so that is, you get access to the network. It gives you access to the networking mixers and any of the content that we produce on our platform. Then of course our events. So yeah, that's ticket sales as a revenue stream. So you have to be mindful. But I always tell people membership and ticket sales, typically, even like not even from our org, what I've also researched, they're the lowest, going to be your lowest revenue streams. But that's not saying that that's a bad thing. You have to look at it from like a marketplace. Like this is, you have to get really good about attracting people to your brand, and then figuring out from once you attract those people, how to match them to people who are looking for those type of demographic. So that's why I feel like anybody who wants to do this work, I feel like there should be more of people who do this work, because there is so many untapped demographics. So for me, our demographic is very clear that it is individuals who are trying to become high net worth individuals and then create generational impact. And so that means there's a certain lifestyle, there's a certain culture that they're looking for, there's a certain mindset that they have. And for me, the revenue streams usually comes from sponsorships. That's the highest one. And then one of the things that we're looking to do next is expand on that from media. So being able to, and the media part is going to be for us to be really intentional about messaging like that brand. Like, hey, we are trying to, because I look at it as almost like a bat signal. Like, I need to figure out how to attract more people who want this type of culture. Because everybody does, BPN is not for everybody. I always tell people, like, I am fine that BPN is not for everybody. I don't need it to be for everybody. In fact, if it is for everybody, that means I'm not doing my job right. So, because there is a certain group of people that we need to be in the room to make it successful.
That's great. Now, how can somebody profit if they are an attendee of one of these things?
If they're an attendee of one of these things, I think it goes back to the goal. So you have to figure out the relationships that you need to make, and and you have to understand value positioning. So if you are, I would say with the example. So you can see, like, for this year, our headliner is Rich Paul, right?
Yeah. Wow. Whoa. Wow. First of all, we got to say congrats.
Thank you
to the founder, the visionary, Miss Kenasha Paul, for going 11 years strong and having Rich Paul as a speaker.
I know.
As a keynote speaker for the BPN Summit.
I know. I'm so excited. I feel like he's going to drop so many great gems. I feel like his energy in the room is just going to be so great for a lot of people to say, like, to experience and feel. So I feel like...
How did you get that? How did that happen? Hold on. We got to get into it. We ain't got too much time, but how did that even happen? Because Rich Paul is a big deal.
No, it really...
And BPN is a big deal, too.
Well, I'm glad he thought it was a big enough deal to say yes to us.
Like, how does that even happen?
It backs to relationships. I keep telling people. So it's like, I had a long-standing relationship with the agency that he merged with. And so, Clutch Sports, he is a CEO of, but he also has an agency deal with United Talent. And so I've had a really strong relationship with the agent for years. He's like, when I started booking a little bit more high name speakers, that was the agency that I worked with. Sometimes, not always, I worked with the different other agencies, but I made sure even when I wasn't working with him, I always made sure to like keep that relationship.
How do you keep a relationship like that? What does that look like mechanically wise?
I feel like people overthink it.
Is it like a text here and there?
It's just like making sure. No, it's like, honestly, I be and I would tell people, you have to figure out people's relationships vibe. I think that's another thing that I feel like I want to figure out how to like teach people, because I think sometimes people find a relationship, and I'm saying it in a technical way because, and I'm gonna simplify it, but basically like people have to figure out, I'm trying to think how the best way. There's this book called Four Business Personalities. And that Sarah Blakely talks about a lot of like our legacy builder quiz. Some of that is based on like the archetypes that we had created, like guardian, luminary, diplomats, tycoon, is based off of that. And the reason why I think that is important is because I have found that people like to practice golden rule too much when it comes to everything. And the golden rule is like treat people how you want to be treated. In business, I find that the best way to treat people is treat them how they want to be treated. And that is taking time to learn what that looks like. So a lot of my relationships, I manage them very differently, because I know, like, for example, like if I'm reaching out to a lot of like all the agents that I work with, they don't need constant contact. They do not need,
Right.
they don't want you blowing up their phone. They don't even like the, hey, how are you? Just checking out. They don't like that. And you got to read that. Some people are not wired like that. You might like that. You're like, man, like, don't be just hitting me up trying to get straight to the business. Some people are
want to get right to the business.
to the business.
Like, what do you want? What do you need? Don't need the backstory. If I can do it, I can do it. If I can't, I can't.
Exactly.
And I still love you.
And I'll still love you. There's no problem. And you have to read that. And I think a lot of times people mess up because they do not read people well. So I feel like a lot of my relationships is like the best ones I had are the ones I do not have to do a lot of like pump and circumstance. I just have to get to the point, make sure make very clear the value that I'm presenting, and making sure it's a win-win for them. Like when I go into a conversation with someone who I feel like is more, I describe as like my tycoon types, all I have to do is make sure that I present how it's a win-win. But a lot of people, like I'm a guardian, which for me, you don't have to get straight to the business, but you have to pitch me how it's going to be valuable. And I feel a lot of people pitch me like a luminary. I love my little luminaries, but they love a good story. They like the backstory. They love like, how you do. And I be dying through those conversations because I be like, oh my God, please just get to it. I promise I'm going to help you. You do not have to do this to me.
Right.
Just get to it, please. Because I'm just like, because for me, I'm like, time is like, like time is money.
And I'm not getting any younger.
And I'm like, it's okay. You could, especially if we've already had some rapport. Like I can understand if like you don't know me, then yes, maybe you want to sit there, give me some story, give me some context, and then come in with the ask. But you do have to kind of learn. I think there is a relationship skill development that I feel like sometimes we're missing in a networking component because we're not reading people well. We're overperforming in areas, and I've had people who do that. Like they'll feel like I know people out there who probably think, oh, Kenasha is probably so standoffish. And I'm just like, and I know people be like, that's impossible. There's no one who thinks that, Kenasha. I'm like, no, because I have met people who have not read me well so badly that I'm like, I have no choice but to be 10 feet distance from you now. Right. Because every time we are in a space, like you are just not getting that this does not work on me.
Right,
like,
100%.
And I'm trying to give you signals. I'm trying to help you out. And I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe one day you'll get it. Somebody's going to teach you this lesson because I'm clearly not learning it here. So.
Wow. That was good. I can hear you speak all day. Like, for real. I just want to say I'm proud of you. Like, I'm really, really proud of you. You talked about 4 business personalities.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting because a lot of us need to really understand. And I think that's why going to these things are great.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to somebody about how we are the most connected society of all time.
We're so disconnected.
But we're so disconnected and so lonely. And it's like we lose... and we were having a conversation, and then, dating came up.
Oh, okay.
When I was at church, actually, and they were like, we had this conversation. I was like, man, what we've lost in this society is the ability to read people based off of, it's so much online interaction. I've never been able to date anybody like online for real. Like it always
Oh,
works out.
somebody. Oh, like when you meet in
Yeah, it's
person.
like it
Okay,
works out way better when I'm meeting in person. I feel
got
like
it.
we've lost that art of being able to communicate in person and read
Hmm.
read not sign language, read body language, read
Yeah.
eye language. When somebody moves their hand, like little simple, like for real, that stuff matters. And I think networking events are going to be so important, and in-person experience is going to be
Oh
so
yeah.
important amongst this AI and technological age, because you will have a deeper, you can build, you won't build as wide, but you'll build deeper.
Oh, 100%. And people are looking for deeper. It's like we are a lot like the data is showing like people are lonelier, like, and even if they are getting the things, they're not feeling purposeful. They're not feeling fulfilled. They're not feeling like the true connection that it requires. And honestly, what's the point of doing all of this if you are not going to have like your legacy building family or your legacy
100%.
building community? And for me, that's like, for me, I feel like I'm always, that's always, sometimes we even have sessions about like how to get your legacy partner, right?
Right.
Like they'll be like, oh, your partner in crime. Like, no, get your partner in legacy building. All right. Like make sure that you figure out how to form those connections and get that going.
You and your organization
Hmm.
approaching this wave of AI technology and this wave of content creation, and what are you doing to align it?
So that's going to be in our next iteration for the organization. That's something that I'm looking at for 2026 and 2027. I look at it that people have to be very strategic about how they align technology so that it doesn't still like we don't lose the plot. So for me, I still want to figure out how to help people by leveraging AI to figure out how to find the people that they need to find faster. So that way we can optimize our network, we can optimize our listserv. So that way when, yes, see if you are, especially because we're in other markets. So for me, I need to leverage AI a little bit more aggressively because I want you to be able to have truly one introduction away from opportunity. And the only way I can do that is if I know that we are coding and pulling our data in a very smart way so that AI can read it. And so that when you go on our platform, you'll see you're like, Kasha, I'm traveling to Chicago in a couple weeks and I need to have a podcast studio, that you can go to our platform and you can just pull it up and be like, boom, this is one of our members that has a podcast studio. They're giving a member rate because you're a
Wow.
BPN member, and you guys can make that connection and make that intro. We want people to make it, we want our community to be faster at solving their problems, and we know relationships are part of that. And so I think on the second half of that, that means on the media side, that's why I'm being more strategic about that, is looking at how we can be better storytellers of what it means to be a legacy builder. Because we understand that there is a lot of narratives that are telling you, yes, to get the bag, but to flex, to spend, to like, oh, like, what's the point of, being a philanthropist? What's the point of you donating to political campaigns? What's the point of you, like, basically making, there's a lot of narrative making you want to tap out. And when we think about the people who are pulling the strings, as we say, that's not what they're doing. That's not what they're doing. Like, so they're feeding you a narrative that they're not doing. And so for me, that's part of like wanting to combat that.
Right. 100%. My last question is this: if you had a chance maybe to ask or tell God anything right now, what would you maybe ask or tell God if you had a chance?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I feel like that question changes so much because I feel like yesterday's question I would ask him, which I did ask him. I was just like, "Sir, please, when are you gonna make the story make sense?" I was just like, so I probably would ask him. No, it's probably still the same question. Where it's like, I think I'm in full vulnerability, transparency. I feel like I'm on a journey. I feel like sometimes it's difficult to be a leader when you have to and it's just visual that I keep having about me being in a classroom. Like I've been having like this constant, like reoccurring visual of me being in a classroom where I feel like I'm done and I'm waiting for the class to finish. And then
Mm.
that's leadership. Like, cause there is a a learning curve. Like there's things that you have to read ahead. There's lessons that you have to go ahead of. And sometimes at first I never understood why they said that, like it could be lonely at the top, because for me, I'm like, no, I'm with community. I have great friends. But I'm starting to recognize like there are those seasons where you just feel like you are 3 chapters ahead and you are wondering like waiting for somebody else to read it with you so that you can talk about it, you can powwow with them. So I'm at that season of like, okay, God, when you gonna let the bell ring? Like, when are you gonna let the bell ring so that we could powwow? When I'm gonna, yeah, I'm in that season in my life. So I'm asking God kind of like or just give me more patience to be okay in that stillness as, more and more people like catch up.
Well, that was good. Well, thank you. I want to say thank you for everything. And man, I'm gonna, I like to watch the interview, so I'm gonna go back and watch it. You see, I'm here taking notes like always, and I appreciate you so much. And congrats on everything.
No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
100%. Y'all make sure you stay tuned in so you don't get tuned out. Let's go. So, hey, what's up, y'all? Amari here. If you loved the episode, we would love that you leave a review, 5 stars, on any of the platforms that you are listening to or hearing this episode at or watching this episode on. We love you, and see you soon. Make sure you stay tuned in so you don't get tuned out.